CW was the king. Morse code was king. It was the only method of long-haul communication. If you wanted to send messages from New York to San Francisco, how would you do it? There is no other way than sending Morse code. It became a regular profession. And they were very good at it. And something we don't give enough credit to is some of these really old Morse code operators. We show an example of this at the museum, where a very common use for Morse code and telegraphy was at railroad stations. Because the railroad needed communications to run the railroad business, and the communications people needed right away to run their wires. Whew, what a perfect marriage. Wires, tracks, telegraph, yeah. So for 100 years, you had a marriage of telegraph wires and trains. And you had operators at these railroad stations who all day long ran Morse, they ran Western Union, they ran the train business. So here we are off here selling tickets for the next train, taking in freight for the next train. All the while, in the background, were these messages coming in. And finally he'd say, "Just a minute, please." And he'd go over to his typewriter, his very special typewriter with only capital letters on it. And he'd type out paragraphs of what he was copying in his head while off here doing other stuff. Incredible amount of skill. And then if you talk about the real pros, the Western Union guys that make it up to the 4th floor of the Western Union, the hot shot floor in New York City, where you had all of these terminus of all these lines coming in. South America, who knows where they're coming from, where the messages might be coming in. Are you ready for this? The messages are coming in Spanish and coming out the fingers in English. Just incredible skill. We just don't give those people nearly enough credit. But one of the problems of all these people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people in this industry, is that after a while, so it was really hard to send messages. When you do it all day long, then we didn't know what it was. Today we know it was carpal tunnel syndrome. They just wore out their wrist. They just wore it out. So there was a real need to help these people out. And the help came from this chap right here, a man by the name of Horace Martin. He took this glass arm that people called it back then and said, I can help these people, I think, by making a key that will send dots automatically. And that's what he did. He discovered this thing, this special key that sent automatic dots. He called his company Vibroplex, and the world would call his products bugs. So Horace Martin, 1904, really started with, oh, guess what? There you go. Get a little cranky here. So here's an early Vibroplex bug, complete with antique dust. I don't clean my keys. So the way these worked is you would hit this lever, and hit is just about right. Here's a later bug. You'd hit this this lever. This arm would start vibrating back and forth. When it vibrated this way, it would hit a contact, make a dip. Then the moment of energy would be lost. It would come back, hit this damping mechanism, but this spring still had energy in it, so So we would go back, hit the key, hit the contact again, make another dip, come back. So as long as you held this over, boy, this bug, I want to tell you, this bug is set up really well. Normally they don't make that many dots. Normally they don't make that many dots before it starts, getting a little shaky. But this is really set up well. That's my bug, of course. So it made it much easier to send code. It took more skill. It's hard to use a good bug. And when you hear a bad bug on the air, it's bad. When you hear a good bug on the air, it's kind of pleasant. So here's a 1920s bug. Take a good look at it. Vibrating arm. Okay. And here's 30 years later. Take a good look at it. Vibrating arm. So not much changed. Here's another bug 30 years later. The design just stayed fairly constant for many, many years. But everybody got in the business. Horace Martin, Vibraplex, had really good patents. But nonetheless, people tried to get in sideways and back doors, and they'd have funny little circuit changes and funny little shapes in order to try to get in on the market. Because the market was big. And CW was it. That's all there was. It was Morse code. There was no teletype yet. So here's a Lex Logan company, SpeedX. Well, I'll tell you what, it sure looks like a Vibraplex, vibrating arm, got all the accoutrements. So you know what this one has? You know what that is? People had to carry their key from job to job. People owned their own keys. They were fragile. Guess what got these guys patented at the start? You put your two fingers right here, and this is a handle to lift up your key and carry it away, not touch any of the parts, and not hurt anything. That's a Les Logan design. In fact, because you did indeed have to take your key from job to job, many people made cases. This is a Vibraplex case, felt line, and your key would just slide right in there. You close the door, pick it up, and take it with you to the next job. This is a Japanese key that was sold by Lafayette for $12.95, 1960s. It was quite good. In fact, it's this bug right here. It's a very nice bug. The only problem with it, you gotta whack the bejesus out of it. You really gotta hit this thing to get it started. But it's a nice, and that's why it's got the rubber feet and suction cups on the bottom. But it's a nice key. It's very collectible today. This is the last bug produced in the U.S. Called the Code Troll. Pretty interesting. Here's the vibrating arm sideways, and here's the thing that vibrated back and forth. You adjust this to change the speed. It's a pretty nice bug. It was just too late for the market. By the 1960s, something else was going on. So a pretty nice collectible last one. Another major change in the history of keying and keys and what have you was this April 1940 QSD article that changed everything because along came electronic keying.